What's going on? So it's finally time for me to reveal big news. If you've been following me on Instagram, you already know, but I no longer have the C8, and I picked up a new car back in early January, and it is time for me to reveal it. Without further ado, and a lot of people can't believe it, but here it is, my new 2023 GR86. So right off the bat, the first thing that a lot of people have been asking me, whether they know me from when I had the C8 or they just met me and I kind of brought up what I had before. How do you go from a Corvette, a C8 Corvette with a mid-engine, 430 horsepower to the wheel, like essentially a supercar, American supercar, to a JDM, 230 horsepower, tiny, puny little sports car from Japan? Like, how do you make that change? And I'm kind of going to go over that in this video. Like, what was my decision making going from that to this? And there's a lot of good reasoning behind it, and I'm absolutely thrilled with that decision. Like, I love this car already for its own reasons. And if you look at it for what it is, this is an incredible car. Like, this is an outstanding, not only platform, but just machine, even as it sits. So, let's just start with the fact that when I was getting rid of the C8 and I knew it was going to be lemoned, the first thing that I wanted to step back to is I've never owned a manual car, ever. I've driven them, and you could say I'm comfortable, but not like I was on the sport bikes. When I had the sport bike and I was dailying that, I was very comfortable with that. And shifting was second nature to me. And I wanted that experience, and I wanted that ability in the manual cars. So immediately I knew that no matter what I was going to get next, it was going to be a manual. And there was a time also where I was thinking, what would have possibly had me not worry as much, although I was still worried about the out-of-pocket costs for a new transmission with all the issues. But if I had a second car, if I had a daily car while all that was going on, it wouldn't have bothered me as much. But since the Corvette was my only car, that's what really hit me hard. And so I want to step back, and I kind of needed to essentially split the Corvette for what it was. And I wanted a sports car and a daily. And obviously, instead of getting the daily first, I went with the sports car. And especially because there's no better way to learn a manual than to just daily drive one. That's the best way to really nail learning how to drive manual. So that's what we're doing. And the price point of this thing is awesome for what it is. Now, the biggest drawback, if you want to call it a drawback, is the horsepower difference. Going from essentially 430 wheel to 230 crank in this thing, it's a huge change. And thankfully, because it's a manual, it makes it way more engaging to drive and less of a worry, less of a problem. It's still very fun, if not more enjoyable of a drive in this because of the manual aspect. Now, how I landed on this car kind of started with some preferences of what I wanted out of my next sports car. And without looking at horsepower, I wanted a manual car. Obviously, this fits. The second constraint of what I was looking for, it had to be a coupe. I did not want a four-door car. I wanted a two-door sports car. I wanted the coupe experience, and that is exactly what this offers. And on top of that, the next most important thing was price. Because of the price point of this vehicle, I honestly don't know if there's another car that even fits in the category, honestly. Obviously the BRZ, same car, but I don't think the front end of that looks nearly as good as this. But, you know, I was looking at the Miata, and at the end of the day, I did not want to be a Miata guy. No offense to all the Miata owners out there. And honestly, I could still see myself buying a Miata and turning it into like a Miata Cup racer. That seems very fun. But as a sports car in general, I just was not interested. It's too small, in my opinion. This is a little more of a fuller size car. Obviously, it's still compact, very small, but not quite Miata small. Miatas are tiny. They're pretty much go-karts. And I didn't really want like a little go-kart, you know. So that was kind of out of the picture. And they're more expensive anyway to begin with. And, you know, I was looking at the Supra. But really what drew me to this car, I'm going to be completely honest, it was a very random encounter at the LA Auto Show back during Thanksgiving. And so what ended up happening is I went to the auto show and I went to go sit in the Supra. I'm like, you know what, I might get a Supra. It has all the horsepower. You can get it in manual now. And, you know, it's going to be more expensive for sure. It's not expensive as the C8, but it's going to be more expensive. But it'll have that power. You know, it's going to have the power. I had a close friend that actually owned one, and he loved it. So I was like, you know what? That might be the move. And I know you heard all the crazy stories about, you know, putting some quick bolt-ons in and tune it, and you have like some crazy 500, 600 horsepower out of that thing, which is ridiculous. But I sat in the Supra at the LA Auto Show, and I was not impressed. Something about sitting in there, it felt boaty to me. And that is not at all with the C8. The C8 feels incredible. When you sit inside that thing, you feel it's small, you feel it's light, and you feel locked into that cabin, especially with everything kind of facing the controls. The controls are just facing the driver. It's a very driver-focused vehicle. But aside from that, it just feels good to sit in that car. That's a very important part of like the driving experience. Obviously, you know, if you're sitting in there, you feel hugged in with the bolsters. Especially with the upgraded seats that I had. I didn't have the competition seats, but I had the sport bucket upgrade seats. When I sat in this car, after sitting in the Supra, I was like, wow, this thing is freaking sweet. It feels like very similar to the C8. It actually feels very similar to the C8. If you'd never sat in one before, obviously the controls are completely different. There's no bar in the middle with all that, but it's just like, if you just sit in this car and you look straight out the windshield, it could feel like you're sitting in a C8 Corvette. It feels very similar because you see these little rises on the side because you got the flat, the boxer engine in this car. So the hood's very low, and you could see these like risen body areas, kind of like the Corvette where they stick up, and the hood's low. So you see right out the front. And since there's no engine in the front in the C8 anymore, and it's just, it just felt so familiar to the Corvette. The only thing, and especially I want to touch on the fact that the bolstering is incredible in this thing. Like, it's kind of sad that it only has like the horsepower that it does, and that's not a big drawback. You know, I'll touch on that soon, but it just felt incredible to sit in this thing. Like, you feel like when you sit in this car, you can rip it hard around the corner as it is. You don't have to do anything. Stock seats, just rip it. That's what this car feels like, and that's what the C8 feels like. And so with that and the visibility just being so similar, I was like, man, I want to check this thing out. And so I did. I went and test drove one in a manual. Had a little hard time, not gonna lie. I couldn't even get the thing in reverse because I didn't know about the reverse lockout. I was like trying to push down, push it over, and you know, I was sitting there in the parking lot for about 10 minutes with the clutch in, or leaving it in neutral, looking up videos. How the hell do you put this thing in reverse? So just to show you how like not comfortable I am with anything manual. And even still, I only have about 890 miles on here, so under 900 miles still on this thing. It's not even broken in yet, but yeah, it's just a strange story going from the C8 to this thing. And again, I don't regret it at all. I love this thing. And what this thing has allowed me to do is now I own a car, and I own the ZL1, and the ZL1 was my ticket into the C8. But I wanted something just not dirt cheap, but cheap. You know, I wanted something cheaper. The Supra wasn't really going to provide that for me, even though it has a lot more capabilities essentially as a sports car. Sitting in the seat just didn't do it for me. I was just like, you know what? I'd rather have this thing. And I'm super glad that I went and pulled the trigger on this, because buying it was a whole nother experience. I found out about the long wait lists. I was like, of course, the car that I want is going to be one that's very hard to get. And I got lucky. I found an allocation that someone actually canceled last minute. It was showing up in December of 23. And I basically reserved it the day that he canceled the allocation by calling the dealership. Shout out to Keys, Toyota, and Van Nuys for helping me out with this. I did pay over sticker a little bit, but very, very minimally. I'm just going to honestly tell you, I paid $500 over sticker to immediately get a GR86. I don't think you can even find anywhere in California right now that'll do that for you. $500 over sticker without being on order. I mean, literally, I started looking for this car about 2 weeks before I ended up getting it. So, I mean, $500 for a car that I'm going to keep forever. Great. And yeah, that's why it's here now. This is one of the cars that I'm going to keep in the collection. And so now that I have this sports car, going back to the whole, like, why I wanted a cheaper car, now I can start looking for a daily. And I really think I want to get the Tesla, hopefully the Model 3 Performance, the new Highland update one. That'll be pretty, should be pretty fun. See what ends up going on with that. And that would be even another car that I could track. But back to this thing, there's a couple of problems with this car that I found out about, of course, already before I even purchased it. I knew about it. But the problem with this GR86, it has some oil starvation issues. And a lot of people talk about the RTV issues, but in my opinion, that's not what's causing anything. It's actually, because you could see it, the oil pickup filter is doing its job. People are finding all the RTV in there. There's plenty of room for oil to go around and through it still. It's the hard G's on the turns that is causing these engine oil starvation issues and leading to some not too common engine malfunctions, but it's definitely keeping me off the track for now, for sure. Aside from the fact that I don't feel comfortable yet going on the track to drive this car, since it's a manual. I'm not going to be tracking this thing until I know for sure that I've done every possible measure to never have to worry about that. And that goes all the way up to possibly installing an AccuSump before I even do my first track day in this thing. That's how serious I'm going to take it. But regardless, I'm not too worried about that right now, because I'm just loving this thing. I'm enjoying the drive on the street. People love the way that this looks. Now I'm going to go over some of the tiny little modifications that I've done so far, but clearly you can see that I did this matte PPF here. Shout out to iWrap Cars in Studio City. Go check them out. I'll leave a link in the description to their Instagram if you want to go check them out. But they did an outstanding job for a great price too. We got the full S-Tech Dyno matte PPF on here. That's why this thing looks so incredible. And this is the factory track bread color. So I had to keep the red, of course. You know, we got it in the logo. And I just had to pay homage to the Corvette. And honestly, or my original ZX6R, that was red. But yeah, I'm just looking at that thing. It's probably focusing on my face here. But I mean, this thing is just so incredible looking here with this PPF job. We have the whole thing wrapped in the matte PPF, every single inch, aside from, of course, these little side vents, which we're going to be working on. It's a little more difficult to wrap because of the raised kind of fins here, I guess you want to call them. So we're working on getting that kind of matted out, at least on the back portion of it. That way it blends in a little more. But I just love the way this car turned out. And we got the 20% tint all around, ceramic I only do ceramic because I believe in the heat resistance and what that helps also with the longevity of the interior. And then we got 50 on the windshield too, just to give it a nice little tint. And quick little tip on the window tint. I want to be honest. A lot of people might not like the windshield tint, especially when you start going to 50, or I had 30 on the Corvette, which is insane. But I want to admit, if you drive at night, 50 is pretty much perfect because it is going to be a little darker for sure. It's not as, widely visible, especially if there's not a lot of street lights. But I will say, when you got those cars coming at you who, even without the high beams, but people who have their high beams on, they're not going to bother you nearly as much. They're going to bother you 50% less because you have 50% tint on your windshield. I think it helps a lot. It helps me out at night, honestly. Even though some people might think it ruins your night drivability. If you're in a busy city area, I think it helps, if anything. So that's my pro tip for that. Now, I feel like I'm trying to jam a lot of stuff into this video. There is quite a bit to talk about. I don't want to go too overboard. There's going to be plenty of content coming on this car. But I will say, plans immediately of what I want to do with this thing. First thing that's going on is I got to get rid of these amber side markers. These things just got to go. They're ugly. And they are not bright at all, and they don't match my matte thing. I was thinking about tinting it with matte PPF still or something, or just putting matte PPF on it, honestly. But yeah, I was just like, you know what, these things got to go. They're ugly. So I have some new side markers that are going in. That's actually something I'm going to do right after I make this video. I'm going to do a quick install right here. And the next thing that I want to do is I want to install, I have some jack pads, kind of like on the C8, you had the jack pucks from Paragon. So I have some jack pads that are going to kind of go under here. That way you can just kind of have an easy point of reference for when you're trying to jack the car up. And then, of course, another little touch, got to get rid of these chrome badges. They're driving me nuts. They actually don't look too bad, to be honest with you. On the car right now, but I just want to go that matte black route, and that goes for the GR logo down there too, and on the back. So a lot of logos got to be replaced. I got the Toyota badges coming in, so these are going to be all matte black, no more chrome. It's going to be straight up matte black. It's going to kind of match this lower portion here, so that's going to be nice. So those are the immediate modifications that I'm making. But as for long-term plans for this car, again, whether or not I bring it on the track, take it out to the track, I'm not sure yet. I honestly don't know whether I'm going to do that. That kind of depends on more research. I'm going to do more research because I just don't want to have any issues with this thing. If this thing, unfortunately, is just not the car for me to take to the track because of issues, then so be it. I will figure something else out. And honestly, it's looking so nice. I don't want to ruin how incredible this thing looks. But besides the point, I'd rather, drive it as it was intended for. But as for future modifications for this thing, definitely get some nice rims, forged rims, lighter, wider. Definitely need a suspension. At least some lowering springs, but I kind of want to just go all out and get like some nice coilovers. I kind of want to get the brake calipers painted red, and I want to do the rotors slotted if possible at some point, which also would consider a big brake upgrade, but I honestly probably wouldn't do that unless I'm 100% going to the track, because I don't think it would be necessary for any other reason. And another thing that I want to touch on really quick that I actually missed is how light this thing is. At 2,800 pounds, this thing's like 800 pounds lighter than the C8. And I mean, the C8 is honestly not that heavy of a vehicle. So this thing just feels like an actual go-kart. Like, it does feel like a go-kart in that sense. The handling is incredible on this car. I think I'm going to do a exhaust upgrade and do titanium exhaust. I think there's one called the R1K or some kind of some kind of R1K titanium exhaust, single exit. It's like 7 pounds or less than 7 pounds, which is crazy. This thing is, I think the stock one's like 40 something. So get that on there. I'm going to do the single exit. So I'm going to put the block plate on the other side. I got my tow hooks I got to go in, and I got to drill out a hole. It's probably going to go on this side since the exhaust is going to be over there, but drill this out, put the tow hook on there, put the tow hook on the front as well, and I'm going to go inside here really quick. It's a little dark. Let's brighten this up. Oh yeah, and I guess in this video I will happily give you some unboxing experience here. Pull off the official last bits of blue, and even actually sit inside here. We got the ProClip. Shout out to ProClip, and shout out to Skosh, I think that's how you pronounce it, possibly, hopefully. Got the ProCharge 5 on here. Absolutely awesome. Actually, I might as well just toss it on right now. Show you how this thing works. You literally just toss this thing on. It's pretty awesome. There it is. Had to kind of make sure I'm getting it in frame, but there you go. Yeah, you literally just toss that thing on and it's there, and it charges when the car is on. So that's awesome. I love that thing. And actually pull this off too for you. Do some unboxing here. I know this video is way more casual than a video I usually would do. I got plenty of like more cinematic stuff that I would usually do coming soon, but for now I just kind of want to get this video out. I've been wanting to do this video for a while, and yeah, there's just been a lot going on, and I'm trying to get all these parts in that I'm already started doing. So yeah, we're gonna actually, let's go do the other side real quick. Take off the blue, literally the last bit. I've been saving the I knew I was saving the screen for this video, but completely forgot about this. It was a little bonus, give you a little ASMR clip here. Perfect. But yeah, this is the bolstering that I was talking about. These seats, I got the premium edition, so it has the nice like Alcantara suede material around the car throughout, and that really gives it a much nicer feel for how cheap this car is. Like, it's pretty incredible that you can actually get that quality of a seat, in my opinion, in a car like this. So obviously back seat, you probably already know what that looks like. It's basically unusable. There's like no leg room back there at all. And there is a drawback. There's a couple of things actually I want to point out. The trunk is kind of annoying. Got my Pine-X in there right now. There's not much in here. It is literally, there's not much in my trunk right now. The problem with this trunk, in my opinion, is that it's just not tall enough. The distance from the base here up is just like, it's not big enough. It's almost like a Camaro trunk. And the Camaro is a much bigger car, but like it just feels, the opening of the trunk is small, and like this distance here is just way too small to really be useful. Aside from that though, it's fine. It is what it is. You know, it's a sports car, and it's definitely a compact sports car, so I can't complain too much about that. But yeah, honestly, I just love this thing. You know, it's nice. And oh yeah, one more thing I completely forgot about. I got these Tux mats. So if you have a GRE6 and you want something a little more serious than the carpet floor mats or even the all-weather floor mats, this is a little less intense than the all-weather floor mats in terms of the material. It's a little softer. It's good in between carpet and like all-weather rubber. But the nice thing about these mats, it goes all the way up on and protects all of that carpet. And that's what I wanted. I was like, I wanted something that's going to protect. Look at this. It goes all the way up. It just protects everything for you. And that's what I love about it. And then you got these, you got that little footbed down there. That's more rubber for grip, but you got these clips that keep it in place. Got the back seats as well. I just wanted those. When I found those, I was like, those are the ones, because it just protects all that carpeting. You don't have to worry about stains getting on there. And literally, all you really need to do to clean this thing is just vacuum. So, super happy that I found these guys. Shout out to Tux Matte. Thank you for making an awesome product. I'm going to be looking at all of their floor mats from now on, here on out. But, yeah, I think that's going to be it for this one, because I don't want to keep it too long. There's plenty of, change the ISO here. There we go. A little bit more. There we go. All right. Sorry about that. But I just want to keep this video as short as I possibly could. I know it's already super long, but just sharing the news. You know, I went from a C8 to this car, and I don't regret it. And I don't regret that I got this instead of the Supra. I just love this thing. Honestly, it's so fun to drive. It's a very different experience that I could have never imagined being in the C8, having so much fun in a car this underpowered, I guess, if you want to call it that. But it is a privilege, and super fun to be driving this thing. And I'm thankful that I was able to even get one, because seems pretty rough out there. There's still some cars that are pretty hard to get, and this, unfortunately, is definitely one of them. Especially if you're trying to actually spec it out the way you want it. I got lucky, just like the C8. C8 was spec'd out exactly as I wanted it, and this is spec'd out exactly as I wanted it. So that's gonna be it for this one. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. I'm going to be making a lot more content. So if you're into the GR86 or you're curious about them, definitely subscribe. Going to be having a lot more coming your way. And again, follow me on Instagram. A lot of pictures, a lot of quick videos, whatnots. I'm going to be posting a lot more things now that the whole C8 headache is finally been taken care of, and I can enjoy this raw experience in this GR86. So, till next time, peace.